Hey guys, welcome back to the Snipe and Score podcast. It's our 1 year anniversary. It's a birthday.
That's right.
Excited
I
for
was hoping you were going to say that. I didn't know how you'd start off, but today is the 1 year anniversary. And we're back exactly where we started, talking about the NHL trade deadline. How about that, Aiden?
it's crazy. Somebody play in the club at 50 Cent because it's your birthday. But we're gonna rip out here. We're gonna do something a little different this time, just like we did last week, starting out with the player of the day a little early. Because we're talking about trade deadline specials. So we'll start off with the player of the day. This player is a centerman, drafted in the first round, 11th overall by Detroit in 1989. He played with
Yeah.
Detroit until, hang on, he played with Detroit until 1995, where he was traded to the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. And then the next year, he was traded to Vancouver, and they played there until 1998, where he was traded to Philadelphia. The next year, he was traded to Tampa Bay. The next year, he was traded to Florida. In 2000, 2001, he was traded to Ottawa. And then he signed in Columbus, played there for 2 years, and then in 2003-4 he got traded to Phoenix, signed in St. Louis, and then in 2005 2006 was traded to Nashville, signed with the Islanders where he'd finish his career in 2008 2009. He played 1,049 games, scored 240 goals, had 548 points. Do you know who this player is?
All right, so Aiden is trying to expose his co-host. He's trying to get rid of his co-host for exposing his lack of hockey knowledge very early in the video. And I guarantee you all the viewers right now are thinking this guy's a complete idiot because I guarantee you all of you, despite how many teams this guy's been on, probably know this dude. I don't know who he is. I don't have a damn clue. Aiden, who is this?
It is the most traded player in NHL history, Mike Sillinger.
Yeah, I should have. Yeah, yeah.
His
Being on
son
a hockey
Cole
podcast, I should have known who that was. I'm being pointed and laughed at as we speak. You all have the right to do that. Good job, Aiden.
His son Cole currently plays on the Columbus Blue Jackets, as we know. A
Yeah.
decent player, Cole Sillinger, plays for Blue Jackets. But yeah, I thought it'd be a fun way to start with the most traded player ever, and Mike Sillinger, a good player in the NHL for some time. But first, before we get to the where we think guys are going to go and the trade deadline stuff, we got one trade that happened
Wait,
last
can I give
night,
you
and
mine? I got to give you mine now. This is my player.
oh, wait,
Yeah,
okay, sure, we can
yeah,
do
yeah.
Sean's out of the way first. Why not?
Yeah. Just let's get the player out of the day. Completely. If your goal was to humiliate me with that last one, good on you. Congratulations, you did it.
Well, it's not.
Anyway, my player, let's see, he's an undrafted forward. He is 30 years old. Let's see, he started out with the Nashville Predators. I say he started out, he's still with the Nashville Predators. He started out in 2020, only played one game that year. All right, in 2021, he played 8 games. 2022, he played 69 games where he recorded his first point. He finished that season with 17 points. All right, and today, he's played 41 games in the big year of 2025 2026. He has 6 goals, 4 assists. Who is this player? He's a forward.
Cole Smith.
Yeah, you got it.
Damn.
Good
You had
guess.
me confused. You had me confused for a little bit. Like, the only person that kind of popped in my head was Cole Smith. Yeah, he's a solid bottom six guy. He's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that's a nice guess. He made his debut in 2020. Yeah, 30 years old. Not a bad bottom six guy. That's great value for Nashville. Anyway, let's get into the fun stuff. That was a good introduction. But happy 1 year anniversary, and we have a lot to talk about today. Let's start off with the trade. Let's talk about Connor Murphy.
Yes, Connor Murphy going to Edmonton for a 2028 second round draft pick. Great move for Edmonton. Murphy will help solidify this back end that severely needs a lot of help. Um, been mainly playing in the bottom six for Chicago, which is fine, but he's been great as a defensive defenseman, and he's been great on the PK, which is something the Oilers need terribly is defensive help in the defense core because they were getting a lot of goals. It doesn't help that they're not getting help from their goaltenders at all, but they're allowing a lot of goals, and Connor Murphy will definitely be able to help that as a shutdown defenseman he is.
Yeah, no, I agree. Last year I always said the second round picks were a little too rich, but in the Oilers' case, they're buying at the deadline. Maybe the second round pick is worth it. This guy's a really good defenseman. Plus, this is a 2028 second. He has 4 points, 9 assists, so not the best offensively. He's 32 years old. His deal expires at the end of the season, if I'm not mistaken. For a team that's buying at the deadline, I could definitely see them retaining him in the offseason. I don't think it'll be that much. Yeah, I like the trade for the Oilers. I've always thought in the past that the second round picks were a little too rich for guys who are on expiring deals, but I think in the Oilers' case, you got to make that cup run at this point. I don't think it's a bad trade at all. Anything more you want to say about Connor Murphy?
No, I think it's a great trade for both teams. Chicago gets a nice asset back a couple of years from now, and they Edmonton gets something they desperately needed, which was another defenseman that can help lock it down after they traded Brent Kulak, which is looking to not be so great in
Yeah.
the Tristan Jarry trade.
Yep, I agree. Speaking of Edmonton, they also cut ties with Andrew Mangiapane. I don't believe he's cleared waivers yet, so he has a chance to head down to their farm system. But that's a guy who
Yes, he has.
he cleared waivers.
I believe so.
Okay. You know, so we talk about the deadline. This is a guy that any team could pick him up, and I think he'd be. I know he struggled in Edmonton, but he could be a decent bottom six guy for free for anybody at the deadline. So we'll see who picks him up. I think that's an interesting case where he signed a 2-year deal in Edmonton. I think a lot of people expected him to contribute to that bottom six, but it just never worked out. So they end up just getting rid of him for nothing essentially.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
agree.
so we're going to talk about the NHL trade deadline now. We'll talk about possible guys who could get moved. So we're going to talk about, I guess, a combination of 6 teams and some stranglers. But these teams we're going to talk about are going to be potential sellers. So there's one team that we want to start off with, though, who may not be sellers. I think everyone kind of anticipated them to sell a lot of their guys at the deadline, if there are any interest in their dudes at the market. But right now, it doesn't look that way because of their contracts. But let's talk about the Nashville Predators for a second. We talked about them while we were on the air a couple weeks ago at the radio
Mm-hmm.
station. We could talk about O'Reilly, Bunting, Stamkos, Holla, and Marchessault. But at the end of the day, the only two guys I could see realistically actually getting traded are probably Holla and Bunting. I know we talked about O'Reilly, but O'Reilly just said a couple days ago that I think he wants to contribute to this team who's making a late playoff push. I think a lot of people didn't
Correct.
really expect Nashville to be playing this well, but Ryan O'Reilly is the leading point scorer here, and for a team that's going to make a late playoff push that no one really expected, and good for them. I kind of see the Predators not really being sellers, even though we kind of anticipated them just a month ago, probably to ship off some of the guys, but that's probably not the case right now.
Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos both came out and said they don't want to get moved. So I think Bunting goes to a team that needs some bottom six help. I feel like a team like Tampa, who's been getting beat up with injuries, they just lost down to Jones a couple games ago against the Sabres. He's probably done for the year with a nasty knee injury. It could be a spot for him to go there. Another place I could also see possibly using help is Minnesota. They're still looking for some bottom six forwards after the trade that got them Quinn Hughes when they got rid of Ogren and Rossi. But I think they're more in the market for a center, so I could see Eric Hall with a reunion there. Uh, and then, yeah, I think other couple guys, I think could be on the way out. Michael McCarron, another guy that could be serviceable in a bottom six role for some team that needs him. And then Jonathan Marchessault has been rumored to be wanting a trade out of there. It's going to sound stupid, but I could see him going back to Vegas.
I could see that
Obviously,
too.
the connection is there. I don't know. They definitely have to retain on cap, but Vegas needs something because they are injured to Hackenback, and they are tire spinning right now. They are not looking good, especially if Mark Stone is out long term. He's out
Yeah.
tonight against Buffalo, sustained an injury against Pittsburgh a couple days ago on Sunday. But we'll see where that goes. But yeah, Nashville, we'll see. They're an interesting team. But yeah, we'll see what they do here on Friday.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's going to be much of a market for Marchessault. I know Vegas. Yeah, I could see the reunion with Vegas. I don't know how much Vegas is going to be interested in that. But it would make sense. I could see that, especially with what you said about Mark Stone. So yeah, like I said earlier, two guys that I can realistically see being traded are Bunting and Holla, not Stamkos or O'Reilly. Which is kind of funny because, like I said earlier, coming into this deadline like a month ago, I think we would have expected the Predators to sell or try to sell all their guys at the deadline. But now they're making a late playoff push, which is kind of surprising and good for them, especially with the news just a few weeks ago that Barry Trotz is going to retire. That's when we talked about that over the air.
Right.
So yeah, I am happy for the Predators because man, it was a dumpster fire just not too long ago. But yeah, if they ever were to ship off a couple people, realistically, the only two guys I can see getting traded are Bunting and Holla. But at the same time, with the late playoff push now, wouldn't surprise me if they keep them either. But we'll see. I think they can get something decent for Bunting.
I agree.
Anyways, let's move off to the most disappointing team, in my opinion, this season. That's the New York Rangers.
Yes.
Two guys that I can see getting shipped off are Vincent Trocheck and Schneider.
Yep. Yes. So Vinny Trocheck, he has already made it clear that if he's getting traded anywhere, it'll be along the coast. I think the most the two fits that I think fit the most are Carolina, and they've been linked to him most recently. They need another guy in the top six or the top nine as a centerman, especially with Trocheck being very good defensively. It'll help them out significantly. And Minnesota, again, you're going to hear Minnesota a lot when we bring up centerman. They need a number two center. Daniil Urov is not good enough as a number two right now, and they don't really have anybody outside of Joel Eriksson Ek on that center group that really stands out. I think Trocheck would be a great fit there. The only problem at Minnesota I can see is are they too west, which makes no sense. But the Trocheck, he stated in an interview a couple days ago that he wants to be in the East Coast. That's where his family is. That's where he's been his entire life. So I think that Carolina is going to be the destination for Vincent Trocheck. But I don't know what the package looks like. It's probably going to be an overpay. He's 32 years old, I believe. He's making $5 million against the cap the next 3 years. So we'll see what he does. And the other one is Braden Schneider. Defenseman, 24 years old. He's been having a bit of a down year. I think he goes to San Jose. What that return is, again, I don't know, but I feel like that San Jose, because they are in the market and they've been rumored very heavily to get Braden Schneider, they need it for the defensive end. They've got Mario Ferraro and Sam Dickinson could be a good piece, and I'm Shahir Muhammadulin's been decent as of late, but they don't really have much on that back end. They've tried some guys. They've tried Nick Leddy, has not worked out, and some other pieces, but so far nothing works. Another guy I could see possibly, like there's other guys who they could see getting moved, like Johnny Brodzinski, Sam Carrick, as well as Taylor Radish. All these guys could possibly be on the move for some late picks. Euro Valimaki, another guy, or Vakanen, excuse me, could also be a guy that's on the move to teams that are looking for some depth in the playoffs.
This might sound ridiculous, but in terms of Schneider, I can almost actually see at the very least New York getting a second back because he's so young.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because he's so young, a second and possibly more. Yeah, I don't know what the more would look like, but I think whoever's getting Schneider is going to get a person with not a lot of raw talent, but a guy with a lot of potential. Last season
100%.
he had. Let's see what he had last season. So just last season in 80 games, he had 6 goals and 15 assists. Right at the age of I think 23. Right. In 60 games, he has 2 goals, 9 assists this year. So not necessarily. I mean, he might reach that goal like what he did last year, but the whole thing about Braden Schneider is his age. So I think New York can bag a pretty good deal for him at the deadline. Vinny Trocheck, yeah, I think what a lot of people forget about Vinny Trocheck, the dude is so good at face-off play, right? And PK, right? I mean, he showed it
Right.
with Team USA over the Olympics. So I think whoever's getting Vinny Trocheck, it's going to be a hefty price, but I think it'll be worth it. I think that's, yeah. Someone like you said, Minnesota needs a center like that. So I am looking forward to seeing what the Rangers can bag for those two guys. I think, for a retooling team, those are two guys that, you can't wait to get rid of. I think they're going to have to
Right.
ship them off while their value is still very high.
And they need the prospects and they need the picks because
Absolutely.
as much as they want to say this is a retool, they need to rebuild. And Chris Drury does not need to be the guy behind that. We've mentioned that multiple times. And yeah, the Rangers, it's the big thing. The big issue with them is they can't move JT Miller. He's refusing to waive his no move clause for anybody. And yeah, we questioned it last year,
And we're
episode
still
1 when they
questioning
did
it to
it,
no one's surprise.
and we were spot on thinking, what the hell were they doing?
Yep.
And it's kind of buried them with $8 million that they're going to have to move off somewhere else for a guy that's not. It doesn't look like he's got his heart in it, and he's not very good.
Right. So how about the next team? We talked about the Predators, a team that could possibly sell, but probably not more inclined to sell. And we talked about the Rangers, a team that we do expect to sell. Now let's talk about another team that we expect to sell as well. The next 4 teams. This one's the Calgary Flames. A few guys that have been rumored to be on the block are Kadri, Coleman, and Whitecloud. They just acquired Whitecloud from Vegas. They could look to move him again for more draft capital, more assets. What do you think about Kadri getting traded? Are they going to pull the trigger on that?
I think Nazem Kadri to Colorado's a certain deal.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'm sorry. I think Kadri to Colorado is just too made perfect. Again, another team that as good as Colorado's been, they need another centerman. Just depth like they've done every year. Last year it was Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle. This year I expect it to be Nazem Kadri in a reunion back when he won the cup with them a few years ago. I think Kadri to Colorado is a great fit. I think Colorado has enough ammo. I could see who is their top? There's a guy that they have right now that's playing really well for them. I forgot his name.
For Calgary?
No, for Colorado.
Oh shoot, I don't know.
There's some kid that's been playing for him this year that I think could be a decent going the other way. I was gonna say Callum Ritchie, but he was traded.
Yeah.
He was traded to Islanders. Not him, but there's somebody else I'm blanking on. Apologies, guys. Not Puck Knower over here, but it's been playing really well for Colorado. And I feel like he could be a part of the deal. I think it's going to be at least a first round pick back for him. When it comes to Zach Whitecloud, I don't think he's going to get moved. I think Joel Hanley is more likely to get moved to a team that's searching for some kind of depth as a seventh defenseman for the playoffs. Same with Braden Paschal. Same with that. Another guy that could be traded for some insurance. Blake Coleman. Blake Coleman is going to be a great ad for whatever team gets him. He's always been a phenomenal player. He's a plus 10 with 21 points on Calgary this year. Again, we've always said a plus 10 doesn't mean a lot, but when you're on a bad team, being a plus player means you're doing somewhat of a good job somewheres. So Coleman, I think, goes for at least a second round pick. I think possibly maybe a first. I guess it all kind of depends. I would love for Buffalo to be on him. I think he'd be a great addition for the Sabres who need some beef in the bottom six. But yeah, Blake Coleman, I think, is going to get shipped out, and in Calgary is going to get a nice package for him.
Yep, I agree with all that. I think if Kadri were to ever get traded, I think the favorite is probably Colorado. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. Cup champion with the team just a few years ago. I would love to see them run it back. I think that would be really exciting. Kadri's just such a good leader, and I think that's what really helped the Avalanche when they won the Cup. And if I'm being honest, when he left, I think a lot of people, with the exception of Landeskog, kind of thought that they were just missing that locker room guy. I think Kadri was kind of that guy. Not to mention he's also super clutch. Right? He's really who's the guy?
Gavin Brindley. He was acquired
Gavin
from Columbus earlier this year. Gavin Brindley.
Yeah, good pickup for Colorado. But yeah, I would love to see Kadri reunite with Colorado. Yeah, Blake Coleman, he has 2 years left on his deal. He's not the cheapest guy. He's also not the most expensive dude. So I think whoever's taking a risk, not necessarily even a risk, but whoever's taking a swing at him at the deadline is getting a good bottom six player. I don't think you can go wrong with Blake Coleman unless you trade too much for him, which with his age, I can't see his price being that high. But at this point, Calgary just needs to get whatever he can get as far as assets.
Because he's a former Cup champion twice over Tampa, and he's still a really good player in the bottom six. Like, he's physical, he kills penalties, he's exactly what you need to make a run in the playoffs. I think somebody would be willing to give up a late first round pick or a second round pick and maybe a B plus prospect to go get Blake Coleman.
Man, I just think that's a hefty price. I just think with the age, look, he's a good player. 2 years left on the deal. Look, I get it. He'll be under contract next year. I just don't know if I would risk it all for Coleman.
Here's my retort.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. These trade prices are getting high, man. I mean, goddamn.
I was going to say, what my retort is, what did Beck Malenstein and Justin Sordorf gold in the last two off seasons? And they're both fourth line players. Second round picks.
Yeah.
So
I get it, but hindsight. Okay, so let me look at it this way. Look, both worked out for both teams, but at the same time, looking back on it, could you have traded less to get them? Yes, you could have. That's my point. The Sabres did not have to trade a second round pick to get Beck Malenstein. The Capitals did not have to trade a second to get Justin Sordorf. They could have went much lower and still got their guy. That's my point.
Probably possible.
I don't have much more I can say about the Flames other than, Zach Whitecloud's a guy that they can get more assets out of. How about the Blues? I know you're dying to talk about this. Go ahead, because there's one guy.
Very much dying.
There's one guy on the trade block for the Blues that Aidan really wants to talk about. Absolutely dying to talk about.
Robert Thomas. Oh, man. Darren Drager with the bomb of the century today, saying the Buffalo Sabres and the St. Louis Blues are in intense talks for Robert Thomas, and then Chad Johnson, not Chad Johnson, what's his name? Chris Johnston of SDPN also came in and said, yeah, it's legit. This is real. There's multiple first round equivalent things being talked about right now. And then Jordan Smoltz came along and also confirmed that there are intense talks going on right now between Buffalo and Robert Thomas, or in St. Louis for Robert Thomas. He's going to be the piece of the deadline. He's 26 years old. He's a great two-way centerman. He's one of the best passers in the league. He's making $8 million for the next 5 years on a great contract with a rising cap. He's been fantastic. I will cry tears of joy if the Sabres get him, but also rumored to be linked to him are Utah, Detroit, and Montreal. And it's going to take a monster package to get Robert Thomas, as it should. He's a great player, and he's going to, if he does get traded, he's going to improve whatever team gets him immediately. And it might look like as an overpay when you first see it come out, just like we kind of thought for Quinn Hughes. We're like, oh my God, that's a lot, but it'll work out in the end because he's getting into his prime, and he's going to be a fantastic player for whoever gets him.
Oh my gosh, Aidan, check X, dude, check X. Oh my gosh, check X.
You fucking with me?
I'm not. Yeah, I am. I am.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I am. I totally am. Sorry, I had to do
I'm gonna
that.
kill
Sorry.
you.
Oh, that was pretty funny. Anyway, yeah, Robert Thomas. Yeah, he's a great player. You were just saying before we got on the on the show.
I hope karma bites you in the ass so bad.
That was
I
funny.
hope so bad.
That was
My heart
funny.
jumping.
You were
My stomach
you
jumping.
were you were just saying before we got on the show how good of a defensive forward Robert Thomas is, and you are right. He's obviously a younger player, and he's great offensively too. So with that being said, I think it would take a haul, like you said, um, to get Robert Thomas. And I think the Sabres, who are making one of the best playoff pushes they've had in a long time, and I mean a long time. I mean like
NHL.
I mean
NHL. Not just Sabres, NHL.
the last time the Sabres made the playoffs, Aidan didn't have a concept of what multiplication was. Neither did I, for that matter. That's how long the Sabres you know have been not
I
making a
was
playoff push.
years old.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So I'm happy for the Sabres. I'm glad they're finally buyers at the deadline. They're not making stupid 1-for-1 trades like Josh Norris or things like that. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. I just hope they don't give up that much, man. I'm rooting for you guys. I hope I don't look at that trade and say, man, Kekalainen, what are you doing? We just got rid of Kevin Adams, and now we're making these trades. So yes, Robert Thomas is a great player, but don't give up like guys like Owen Power or just it shouldn't be a risk it all for Robert Thomas move. It should be a we're gonna give up the guys who are expendable for a guy who's gonna contribute to our playoff push. That's what this trade should be. So I'm happy for the Sabres.
As long as Owen Power, Noah Osland, and Zach Benson aren't in here, I'm satisfied with whoever the hell they give up.
So Jay Fresh tweeted out, I think earlier today, yes, earlier this afternoon. Here's a list of some players who got traded at the deadline in the last season. The Sabres made the playoffs: Dustin Penner, Sergei Samsonov, Brian McCabe, Corey Stillman. There are more. Those are a list of players who got traded at the deadline the last time the Sabres were truly buyers at the deadline. I think that's pretty funny.
I don't know about buyers, but because they were on the outside looking in when they made it in 10-11.
I shouldn't say buyers, but the last time they made the playoffs. That's what I should say. Correct. So I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, we could talk more about the Blues. So we just talked about one guy. We just talked about one guy. They have multiple other players they could trade. How about Justin Folk? Justin Folk, for his age, he can still ball. He's putting up some good stats. The thing is about the Blues is that they stink. So I would imagine they try to sell off these guys while their value is still high.
I mean, Justin Folk, I think, is a guy that's also probably expected to be on the move here. He's also been linked to the Sabres, funnily enough, but I would not like him on the Sabres. I'm good. But yeah, Falk's gonna go somewhere so he can have an impact in the bottom six that needs defensemen. There's multiple places he can go. Braden Shen's been linked to multiple teams as well. I think that's about it when it comes to people like maybe Matthew Joseph, who was just waived. I could see him possibly getting traded somewhere. But yeah, I think, and Jordan Binnington, he's been the big one that's been talked about recently. They said they are moving on from him. I think he's going to go to Edmonton and suck because I don't think it's a goalie problem in Edmonton. I think it's a goalie coach problem in Edmonton. So, but I think Jordan Binnington will be on the move. I think he'll probably be going to Edmonton.
That's so funny. You just outed both the Oilers and like Jordan Binnington all in one sentence. Like he's gonna go to Edmonton and he's gonna suck. That's so funny.
Well, it's not necessarily his fault, but look at it. Stuart Skinner was there and he was awful. Goes to Pittsburgh and he's helping lead this team to a playoff spot. They bring in Tristan Jarry, who was and he's worse.
Look, if the Oilers traded for Binnington, I'd be really, really depressed for Oilers fans. I mean, look, I know Binnington's he's won a cup, but that was a long time ago. And Binnington, for whatever reason, just can't play in the NHL. He can play in the Olympics and he can play in the Four Nations when he suits up in that Canada uniform. But when it's time to suit up for an NHL team, Binnington forgets how to play between the pipes. And I don't get it.
Maybe that is in Canada. He'll actually play like he does with the Canadian team because he'll be in Canada instead of the United States.
That's funny. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if the Oilers are going to trade for him. I'd feel bad if they did because I don't know if he's going to solve their problems. I really don't think he is. But yeah, Binnington's another guy that I could see getting traded. As far as some other guys, I want to know what's going to happen with Jordan Kyrou because Jordan Kyrou has been I don't know about that. But he has been in trade discussions for such a long time, and I just want to see the Jordan Kyrou era over because this guy's got to go. Jordan Kyrou on the Blues just not working out. Yeah, like I said earlier, the teams should just sell high on all these dudes while they can. Yeah. Those are my thoughts on the St. Louis Blues. Anybody else you want to talk about? We talked about Shen. You mentioned Falk. I think they can get a good good return for those guys at the deadline as well. How about we move on to the team that this team has a number of dudes they can trade, and I mean a number. I'm looking at 8 right now who I think could all get traded. And as they should, right? I mean, nothing's working out. It's time to rebuild. Unfortunately, because I know they weren't in this situation not too long ago. And the Vancouver Canucks they were doing well just a few years ago, and it stinks to see them in this position. But I hope they get a guy in the draft that they could just build around like McKenna. But let's talk about the 8 dudes that could be shipped off. How about Tyler Myers? He's been in. So actually, I think he was held out of the lineup just last night because talks
He,
were intensifying between Vancouver and Detroit.
yeah, so he elected to not waive his no movement clause, so he ixnayed that trade to Detroit, or it would have been done. So, yeah, he's not going to Toronto. I don't know where Tyler Myers goes realistically because he's on a bad contract.
Yep.
Unless somebody retains, he's older. Funnily enough, he screams Boston Bruin to me if they literally just retain on his contract because he's big. He's not nasty, but he's big, and Boston loves big defensemen.
Yeah.
I could see that. So I'm like Boston would be a spot. I guess I could see him going. Uh, like maybe Utah because they need another defenseman.
Yeah, if I'm being honest with you, we talk about guys that look good, right? Some guys that the Canucks could, possibly get a good return for, but Tyler Myers is probably the one out of the bunch that probably don't stand out the most. Now, look, he's on a 3-year, $9 million deal. Let's see, I don't know how much is left on that
He's
deal.
a year left.
He's a year left.
after the
Okay, so all right, so look, I don't think they're going to retain salary. I don't know. It's just $3 million. But he's 36. He's he's definitely not the youngest guy in the bunch, but I don't think it'd be the worst trade for whoever acquires him. Just don't give up that much, and the Canucks should just be willing to trade anybody at this point for anything. That's my take on that.
The big fish I'm going to talk about is Elias Pettersson. He's been rumored to being traded the last couple years. If Detroit misses out on Thomas, I think they flip their hips and go to Pettersson, and I think that deal will get done. I think he would wait for Detroit. And they have the ammo to get it. Detroit needs another centerman, and Pettersson's it is his time in Vancouver is just not it. Like he's got to go. I think Vancouver would 100% have to retain on the contract. He's making $11 million per year.
Yep.
But I think if they do go out, if Pettersson is getting moved, I think he's going to Detroit or possibly like a Utah or a Seattle that has ammunition to kind of flip people to get him in there.
Yeah, and that'd be a home run for Detroit, especially with Vancouver retained salary. But we've talked about it before. We talked about him at the deadline last year and how underwhelming it was. But Detroit's in a position now where they're looking to make the playoffs, and they definitely have the talent to do it. And our mistake because we kind of flamed him last year for not doing anything at the deadline and not doing anything in the offseason. But it turns out they were fine with the squad they had. Let's just hope we don't see.
They added John Gibson, and that was the big piece to kind of help them. Detroit still? I don't know how I feel about him. I don't.
Let's just hope there's not a dumpster fire last quarter of the season. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're a good enough team to make the season.
We can definitely hope so.
We can definitely hope so. You can hope so. I personally have an issue with them. I know you do, and I'm hoping the best for your squad as well. But yeah, I think Elias Pettersson would be a home run for Detroit. I just don't see them getting him. Yzerman has never been one to take a big swing at the deadline, and I think he's content with the squad he has now. I think he would have done something last year at this time if he felt otherwise. So I'm curious to see what direction Detroit will go. I would honestly be surprised if Detroit took a big swing at the deadline. So I think Pettersson should get moved. It's just a matter of who he'll go to. And you mentioned Utah. I think Utah does have the ammunition to do it. Another guy that we should talk about, Jake DeBrusk.
Nah.
Look, he said he didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. I can see them moving him. I don't.
To where? That's the thing.
No, look, I get it. Yeah. But look, whether or not someone trades for Jake DeBrusk, I know he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. I think Vancouver's going to try to find a way to, try to offload him. So whether or not Jake DeBrusk gets moved to the deadline, it's looking like his future is not in Vancouver.
I agree, but I think he'll be more of an off-season type of move where teams are kind of have room and they're kind of looking to add pieces more than the deadline because this contract's not great.
It's horrible. It's actually one of the worst in hockey.
Not great. Another guy that's having not great contract, but is looking to possibly be on the move here shortly, Connor Garland. The Islanders and Canucks have really sparked up conversations over Garland here in the past couple of hours. I think it'd be, I don't like it for the Islanders for just because of the contract. He signed a 6/6 this extension this upcoming season. I don't like it. Garland, good player, but he's having just like the rest of the Canucks are having a really bad year. So eh, if he goes to the Islanders, it'll be another scoring boost that could help them. But outside of that, I mean, I hope Vancouver gets a decent amount of assets back for him because
Yeah, so do I.
yeah,
And actually, I don't like that move at all for the Islanders. And I'm only saying that because of his contract. 6/6. A team that really wasn't expected to make the playoffs this season, but I know they're making a late push. But Connor Garland really isn't having a great year. So maybe Vancouver retains salary. I think there's some upside with Garland. If he can look, if Connor Garland can play the way he did before he got his extension, right? I mean, the guy was, just in 2023, 20 goals in a season. He put up 47 points. Even last year, right? 50-point season. The guy's 29. For the season he's having now, maybe a change of scenery is what he needs, but yeah, I can't say I love that move for the Islanders, especially for a team that probably wasn't expected to make the postseason, and now they're going to be buyers. I don't know if you take a chance on Connor Garland. I don't love that move if I'm the Islanders. Teddy Bluger could be a solid addition for bottom six. I guess I don't.
he's been linked to Buffalo. That's genuine. He has been linked to Buffalo. I'd be glad to have him. Nice bottom
Yeah,
six
nice
piece.
bottom
Was a
six
lot of
guy. Yeah,
Bluger will get a decent return, a third or a fourth. He'll be
Do you think someone takes a chance on Evander Kane? Good
hell
old
no,
Evander Kane. Oh, God.
hell no.
I have him listed on here, but oh man, the Canucks, yeah, they're in a
Next,
situation to say that, yeah, they're in a situation to say the least. How about we move on to the Maple Leafs because they're actually our next team that we have to talk about.
yeah, they Steve Dangle blew a fucking gasket. Excuse me, blew a gasket on SDPN today. I watched it. He lost his mind because Toronto hasn't made a trade since July. Uh,
What was the last trade they made, Aiden? What was the last trade they made?
I don't remember, but it was in July. Uh,
So actually,
maybe
I know it wasn't in July, but the last thing I remember was them trading for Brandon Carlo.
the last move they made was that they've kept was Troy Stetcher off waiver.
That was the last move they made. Oh wow, all right,
They've kept.
all right.
Guys that I can see on the move. Oh yeah, Oliver Ekman Larson. Value's as high as it's ever going to be, and good
Yep.
contract. I could see somebody taking a flyer on him. Bobby McMahon to Edmonton makes a lot of sense right now. They need some speed in that lineup and another top 9 scorer. He makes too much sense for them. Uh, I could see Nick Robertson getting moved. He's been rumored to be getting moved the last couple years. Do they finally pull the trigger on him? He's been playing some good hockey. Where he would be a really good piece for a team like a younger team. I could see him going somewhere like a Columbus or somebody like that or Nashville that could need some youth in the lineup. Matthias Michelli, Boston. He's been rumored to go to Boston for a little while. Nick Wash should be traded, but I don't know if he goes anywhere. And Scott Lawton and Dakota Joshua, two other guys that have been brought up in the forward core at least that I think should be moved. Lawton would get at least a first round pick from somewhere. Dakota Joshua, I think, would be a second, maybe a first, depending on where he goes to. A couple guys that could be really big pieces for the higher end teams like the Colorados and I think Lawton or Joshua would be really good in Minnesota with their need of centerman. And just to kind of tally this up a little bit, Brendan Carlo should be traded. He's been bad. They need to recoup assets while they can. If they traded a first round pick and Fraser Mitchell for it, which has looked out aces for Boston. And then Simone Benoit, he's bad, but you never know. Maybe get a 6th round pick back for him. So who knows?
Yeah, and I agree with all that. Like, literally don't have any arguments. Ekman Larson, this is the highest his value is going to be. Ship him off. I don't care what he does the last 20 games. They're going to have to ship him off. For how bad the Leafs are right now. Same with McMahon. I like the point you made about him going to Edmonton. That seems like that could definitely happen. I've heard the Avalanche are interested in Lawton. If they don't get Kadri, what'd you say?
So would make sense.
Yeah, if they don't get Kadri, I think Lawton, maybe the Avs trade a first for him. I think that could be a possibility. And the Benoit, not the best, but maybe you can back a 6th for him. So, yeah, I think if you're the Leafs, this is one where you got to look and say this is a lost season, and we're just going to ship off our guys for as many assets we can possibly get because it's a lost season. We need all the assets we can get out of the guys who are at their peak value right now. That's what I have to say about Toronto. Now let's talk about some stragglers. You want to talk about Rasmus Ristolainen?
Yeah. So initially the Sabres had interest, and then I heard what the offer they wanted for him was, and I said I'm good on having Risto back in Buffalo. Ristolainen, he's looked better after the Olympic break. They're asking for a first round pick plus, so essentially what they traded to get him.
Yep. Yep.
I I think he could
Same
be
about
good in
Sean
a
Munn,
shelter.
right, with Toronto. Sorry, go ahead. I was yeah. I just think that's funny with
Yeah,
Toronto. Hopefully, he can get a first back from because it's not a good trade if they don't.
right. I think Reese still could be good in a very sheltered role. He's become more of a defensive guy over the past few years after he got traded to Philly. The contract is not great. He's got a year left at $5 million, which is not fantastic. But I could see a couple teams taking a flyer on him. That funny, a flyer, but that can
I
take a
get it.
chance on him. Could take a chance on him if they need to. If they need another defenseman to throw in the bottom six's depth. Honestly, with how banged up Dallas has been, if they could find a way for them to get 50% retained, I could see Dallas possibly going after Ristolainen.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I could see that as a possibility. Um, so I don't think the contract is horrible. 5 million for next year. Probably not the best, but retaining 50% would be even better. Especially if he only has a year left on his deal. I think he's still a good defenseman. Um, but the thing is his offense and his availability, right? He's only played 23 games this year. He has a goal
Yeah,
and
he's
5 assists. How about this is actually interesting because he got traded earlier this season already. He could be on the move again. How about Sherwood?
yeah. San Jose. It's been reported that if the Sharks cannot get him signed to an extension this week, that they will look to flip him again. I mean, it's fine. I mean, they brought Shearwood in to contend, and San Jose's been just right around the playoff line. For the Western Conference, and if they can flip him and get maybe a first out of him from a team like a almost said Florida, they're not making the playoffs this year, like a Tampa or a team within the Eastern Conference that needs another starter player. I think he'd be a pretty decent fit uh, with the Islanders as well. If they're looking for a little bit more muscle down the bottom six. But yeah, Shearwood, I think it could be moved. I don't think he's going to be moved. I think this is going to sound crazy. The Sharks are a little bit more buyer than they are a seller because they are there, and
I agree.
I think they know it, just like most of the Western Conference knows it. That this is the year you're going to have to you're going to make it because the West is so bad. Uh, so I think that they could possibly be selling, and they might just keep him as an own rental after trading for him.
I guess my thing is just why would you bother trading for him, midway through the season if, you didn't have an idea of what he was going to ask for this offseason. I think I would have made that trade, 2 second round picks, at least with some idea in mind of what he would want in the offseason. Because now they're going to have to look for a trade and try to make up for that because it's bad look if you can't make up for the 2 second round picks you lost. So, yeah, but I agree with you. I do see the Sharks being more buyers at the deadline than sellers, but we'll see what happens with Sherwood if they can't get an extension
Well,
done.
I mean, the Kraken traded for Mason Marchment for like a third round pick and got a second round pick back. So like,
But that's what I'm saying, and that we said it before about the Kraken. It's just question mark moves, real head scratchers. We'll see what happens with Sherwood, but you know if you're gonna buy around the deadline, I would say what's the rush, right? Why not keep him till the end of the season? That's what you brought him here for in the first place. If you can't get an extension done with him, so be it. Why would you ship him off? If I mean he hasn't been the best in San Jose so far, right? He's only played 4 games. Like I understand that, but at the same time, I don't know how high his market is going to be at the deadline, given his availability really hasn't been
right.
the best in San Jose. Uh, so that's what I have to say about Sherwood. So I think the last guy we're going to talk about, unless you want to talk about anybody else, Patrick Laine could be on the move. Same with Sherwood. I think his problem right now is his availability.
Yeah, so it's been rumored that the LA Kings are really interested in him, which I have no idea what the Kings are doing. I don't know why they're buying at the deadline, especially a guy like Patrick Laine. I know they lost Fiala, they lost Andrei Kuzmenko this week as well. He's out long term. They're old. They need to sell. I understand y'all just traded for Timmy Panarin, but you need to sell and get younger. And having a guy that's going to be making probably $4 million against the cap because it will have to be 50% retained from Montreal and giving up assets to get a guy that's never on the ice and he's pretty much become a power play specialist at this point. Come on, like what are we doing here, LA? Like stop it. You're making me look like a genius for saying you're missing the playoffs this year, but Lord Almighty for your fan base, stop. Get rid of guys that you can get value back for now. Get rid of Mikey Anderson. Get rid of guys that have value now to recoup assets. Like you're old and you've got a couple decent prospects in the system, and that's it. Like you need to sell or at least retool to get to have a chance in the future. Because again, if for some God's grace of earth that the hockey gods allow you in the playoffs, you're getting knocked out in the first round by Edmonton again, we're all going to sit there and laugh. Even if DJ Smith is your head coach after Hillary got fired this week.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree. I don't know what the whole thing, trading for Patrick Laine. Look, the guy has barely been available, right, for the past 3 seasons. Not to mention, with the situation the Kings are in right now, after they just fired their head coach too, Sell. That's my thing. I don't. And you nailed it on the head at the beginning of the season. You said they weren't going to make the playoffs, and you're right. I don't think they are going to make the playoffs now. I think they're going to be just on the outside looking in. And if I'm Artemi Panarin, I'm still wondering why I picked the Kings over a team like, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but the Kraken offered him more money, and they're probably in a better situation right now to make the playoffs than the Kings are. Um, I don't know if you picked him because of flexibility. It's only a 2-year deal, whereas the Kraken, I think, gave him a 3-year deal, but it was more money. Uh,
Big
I,
city.
I guess, but still, big city, but playoffs, man. I want to win a cup, right? Um, but honestly, if we're talking about winning a cup, I don't think either team, or, Seattle and Los Angeles, I don't think either team are going to go win a cup. But
No.
point being, I want to compete. I want to go play in the playoffs, right? I think the Kraken probably have a better chance of doing that right now than the Kings. So if I'm Artemi Panarin, I didn't understand, right? Yeah, that's my thing with the Kings. And you're right, they should sell. I would sell. So if they're interested in Patrick Laine, what are you doing? Patrick Laine of all people too, right? I mean, the guy who's barely been available to do anything the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. There's two more guys I want to briefly mention here before we get off of today, and we'll catch you guys next week. Both from Winnipeg, Luke Shen and Dylan, or excuse me, not Dylan DeLille. He ain't going anywhere. Logan Stanley and Luke Shen. I think that both are going to get traded. I think that they'd be great assets, both really good defensive defensemen, and they're going to help bolster a bottom six or a bottom six or a top six, depending on where they go, of a team that will need depth in the playoffs. I would love Logan Stanley on the Sabres, big mean defenseman, likes to hit things. Uh, and then Luke Shen's been around the block. We know what you're getting out of him. Been on a few good teams. I could see him reuniting in Tampa. I think it's gonna be really possible, but time will tell. In the next couple days when the deadline hits here on Friday.
Yeah, especially with Winnipeg, I'm not sure how much Luke Shen is, not to say contributing right now, but for a team that's probably going to be on the outside, unfortunately, of the postseason, it's probably a guy that you look to see what you can get out of him. So yeah, I can see them moving Luke Shen. I think he will probably get moved. And then the last guy you mentioned was Logan Stanley. Yeah, I think it'd be a solid addition for anybody. You mentioned the Sabres are interested in him. Just a big bruiser, right? I mean, that's him. 6'7", 230 pounds. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want that guy skating right after me. He has 9 goals and 11 assists too, so he has 20 points in the season. He's still somewhat young too, 27. I think he's still got a little bit of potential to grow, a little bit of room. Yeah, I could see the Jets moving both of those guys, and I think it's a solid addition for anyone making a playoff push.
I agree. Well, that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in. Any last thoughts, Sean, before I close her up here?
No, but trade deadline season, I'm excited. Let's go.
Deadline season, yes, deadline season is here. Cannot wait to have the recap episode to see how wrong we really are about where guys are going, and to see Aidan cry tears when we don't get Robert Thomas.
Hopefully, it's nothing like my before the season predictions, because that was atrocious with the Rangers.
And we are gonna revisit those.
Yeah, let's humiliate Sean even more. Yes, my favorite.
Well, we both had some pretty bad picks.
Happy 1-year anniversary, buddy.
Happy 1-year anniversary, everybody.
And thank you guys for tuning in and watching. We appreciate all your support.
Yeah, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Everything Afterthought Sports. Free agency for football is almost here, along with the draft about a month away. NBA playoffs are here, and the World Baseball Classic starts up tomorrow.
I wish NBA playoffs were here. That'd be awesome. We're a month away, but NBA playoffs, I'm very excited for that.
The push is here for the playoffs. My mistake. Yes. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you all next week for our post-trade deadline analysis.
See you guys.